Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it going on? And shalom, welcome to another episode of Late Nights with Big Daddy Liberty. That's Late Nights with BDL that comes to you every Sunday at 9 p.m. I hope I am the definitive way in which you close off and cap off a week. And the weekend, really, guys. Welcome to it. I hope you had a fantastic weekend and that you got a chance to do whatever you needed to do. I don't know. What did you guys do on the weekend? Hopefully it was a good one filled with lots of merriment as we, for a moment at least, forget just how trash our politicians are in this country. Guys, welcome to it. I am Big Daddy Liberty, your favorite fat boy and street fighter for classically liberal ideas, liberty-leaning ideas in South Africa. I'm still in Cape Town, for those who may be wondering. And as you might know, I am on the ground in communities doing the groundwork. I've always argued that if you want to change a country, if you want to do something about the state of things, then you've got to do the groundwork. You've got to go into the sort of communities that often people don't want to go into, that are afraid to go into, in order to win people on the battle of ideas, to win people on the ideas. The idea that, you know, if you're going to change a society at a point of crisis, which is where we are as South Africans, then you have to inject the greatest volume of ideas into that society if you're going to move it, if you're going to change it. So that is my bread and butter. That's what I do now on a day-to-day basis, going through, at least here in Cape Town at the moment, you know, this cities, townships, and suburbs, to be brutally honest, basically doing door-to-door work, talking to people on the ground, and hopefully ever increasingly building these liberty networks of people who, once convinced, they themselves become the zealots for the ideas. So that's what I do, just as a reminder to you guys, so you don't think that I'm just sort of sitting doing these shows. No, there's much more to it. You know, I've devoted my life to essentially winning the battle of ideas. It is my ideas that err on the side of liberty, that are founded in the values of faith, flag, family, and freedom. It is those ideas and those values versus the sort of status quo ideas we have right now, which are damaging and eroding our freedoms as a country, which are these sort of broadly leftist ideas, the state-centric, crony, socialist-type ideas that dominate our politics and that really are eroding our quality of life. It is me versus those ideas in our communities. And again, if we're going to change this country, we've got to win the battle of ideas. And you cannot do that in just the air war, which is the show and the various radio stations that are now ever increasingly syndicating the BDL podcast. You know, you've got to do the groundwork. So I raised that because today's show will be a bumper one, a very interesting guest. But before I get into any of that, as I always do, let me just quickly check the comment section just to make sure that there's no sound issues and that people can actually see me. So welcome to it, guys. I hope you can hear me and that the line is clear and all of that. I'm just going to keep an eye on the comment section, as I said, just to make sure. I know guys will come through with the comments thick and fast just now, just to make sure that they can actually hear me. But I am seeing guys trickle through. Vickers De Beer, hello, I see you. There's a lot of comments tonight, guys. Welcome to the stream. There's quite a lot of people here. I'm actually quite chuffed to see you all. The Reverend Rawhide, welcome. I see you. Karik, hello. Christoph, hey man, that's Christoph Smuts, who is ever increasingly doing, not ever increasingly, he is now going to be doing my camera work and a lot of the editing. Shout out to you, Christoph, I see you on the stream, homie. Karik giving me that indication that the sound is good. Matthew John, welcome. You're also saying the sound is good. All right, guys, thank you very much. I just needed that quick confirmation. Stephen Sickle, I see you. Tanya, welcome to the show. That's Tanya the Fenter. A lot of, Luto is also on the stream. Very familiar faces on the show. Guys, welcome to it. Let's perhaps get into it. And I'm seeing the comments, guys. I must just maybe quickly say this, this show is going to be you guys posing the questions to my guest, who I forgot to mention earlier on, is Jarette Petzer. Jarette Petzer, of course, is the founder and lead organizer of the Move 1 Million initiative. It's a movement, if I can call it that, a social activist movement born here in South Africa, and it's sort of growing offshoots in other parts of the world, especially amongst the expat community. And we're going to have Jarette talk to us tonight, in a nice, easy Sunday chat, and I want to ask him a whole bunch of questions. Who is Jarette, right? What does he stand for? What are his ideals? And what has a guy like him stand up and start a movement like this one, right? And about the movement itself, what is it, right? What is Move 1 Million? What are its aims? Guys, we'll get into it tonight. And as I mentioned in the comments, and I'm seeing some of the comments here, I will ask some tough questions too around, the aims and the purpose, etc., of this organization. It's modus operandi. I think a lot of you guys, if I look back to the 2 episodes I've uploaded on YouTube and on Facebook, a lot of those questions sort of came out, from guys who maybe aren't maybe sold yet, or maybe you just are curious and you don't know what Move 1 Million is about. So I'm hoping tonight will be your opportunity, dear viewer, to actually pose those questions and maybe even satisfy yourself, and your curiosity, and maybe even join the movement. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to have Jarette on in about 5 minutes or so. So with that being said, guys, welcome to the show. If you're just joining us, you're watching Late Nights with Big Daddy Liberty. My name is Sihle Ngobese, Big Daddy Liberty. You're watching the show that should end your weekend, I always say, in a nice, easy Sunday chat. With that being said, guys, welcome to it. I just want to get some water, excuse me. Oh, yikes. All right, with that being said, I am checking out the chat section. Just a reminder, guys, pop the questions through. We're going to have I'm going to have Jarette until 10 p.m. The show will end at 10 p.m. I'm going to have him on in about 4 minutes or so. As I said, tonight is essentially you guys and your questions. I'm going to open it up maybe for 10, maybe 15 minutes. And after that, it's you guys. See, I'll be exclusively reading your questions. Maybe you're one of those people who is a big fan of it, and maybe you're organizing like a local chapter in your part of the world. Tell me about it very briefly, please, in 2 lines, a line or 2 in the comment section. I'll read that to Jarette, and or maybe you're someone who is deeply opposed to it. I don't know. I want to hear from you. I don't want this chat to be a fluffy, kid gloves interview. I want to have a chat with Jarette and, have 2 people who are deeply concerned about the country, be brutally frank with each other around what we're doing and why we're doing it, so that you become ever increasingly informed and that you can then join the initiative if it appeals to you. So with that being said, I'm already seeing some of the comments come through here. Hey guys, don't worry, I'll read everything and I'll put it to Jarette. Jarette is an open book. If there's one thing I've learned about this guy in the 3 or so times that I've met him, is that he seems like an open chap, and he's never struck me as someone who shies away from questions. So I'm going to pose a lot of the questions I'm seeing here. Please come through with them, and very quickly share the link, guys. Please like and share the link right now. Have as many people join us in the stream as possible, so that we can actually grow the show. It's live here on YouTube. The moment the show is over here on YouTube, I will upload it onto Facebook, and it'll be available on Facebook. I haven't quite worked out yet how to live stream simultaneously. We'll work it out, guys. We'll work it out. A lot of you guys know I'm not tech savvy, but I'll work it out. All right, guys. So give me a moment, please. And after the short break, I'm going to have Jarette on to the show, and we'll have a quick chat. As I said, I will keep a constant eye on the question section. You guys will run tonight's show. I'm going to have a brief Q&A with him, and then we open it up to you guys. So if you're just joining us on Late Nights with BDL, welcome to it. I'm going to head to a quick break, and after this break, we continue as we meet Jarette Petzer himself and have a chat here on the show.
Kill this quickly.
All right, guys, welcome back to the BDL show. Thank you for indulging me in that quick little break. As I was just establishing my guest on the line, he's currently standing by for me. But just a quick reminder, the show will be about you guys. So, get the questions out. I can see the comment section is really lively. So, guys, I'm going to pose all of those questions to Jarette. He's currently standing by, as I said, on the line. Remember, I'm in conversation with Jarette Petzer, who's the founder and really the lead organizer of the Move 1 Million initiative. Which is, based out of here in South Africa, but really has a footprint now, if you sort of check them out on social media, in countries perhaps across the world, presumably with mostly South African expats, but people who are clearly deeply concerned about the state of the country. But let me not waffle on about it. Let me bring the man himself onto the screen. Let's see if my software does not fail me at this point. Please do not do so. There he is. Jarette, hello, welcome. You are live on Late Nights with BDL. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, and you, man?
Excellento. Welcome to the show, man. And it's actually quite good to have you on the show. I think people last saw you on the show on Thursday when I released the BDL show. And we did that interview out when you guys were in Belleville. Since then, where are you now? I know you're quite the globetrotter for the MOM movement.
Yeah, I'm actually in Port Elizabeth now. I've just finished my leg in Johannesburg, and tomorrow I'm on my way to KZN. So doing a lot of traveling.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's quite a bumper traveling routine and itinerary. Maybe let me hop straight into it, right? Insofar as people might be wondering, hey, what's going on here? Who's BDL talking to here? Why is this guy traveling around? Like, so many questions. So let's start at the beginning. Who's Jarette Petzer, and what's your background?
Sure, man. So my background is actually in real estate. Before that, I was involved in mining technologies. I've traveled extensively around the world. I've seen and done quite a few things. And in 2019, I started a group called #I'm Staying, and that obviously just exploded. We got 1.2 million members on there, and the whole idea behind #I'm Staying was about creating social cohesion, partnering with guys that are doing a lot of stuff in terms of social development, grassroots development, projects that are based around sustainability in around our townships in South Africa and in the rural areas, and that sort of prompted us to get an MPC up and running, and during COVID we managed to do some pretty cool stuff in terms of feeding programs, and quite a fun ride. And then just over a month ago, like 6 weeks ago, we launched Move 1 Million, which was a response to the stuff that's going on in South Africa in terms of corruption and also awareness around hashtag direct elections.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of led us to where we are now.
Mm. And again, I think you said it just now, insofar as pointing out that Move 1 Million as an offshoot slash new initiative is only been, what, you said a month old?
Yeah, about 6 weeks. About 6 weeks old now.
And Jarette, I suppose the immediate follow-up question would be like, what is it? What is Move 1 Million? What are you guys trying to achieve? And when I even say you guys, like, what is the structure of it? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is mobilize as many South Africans as we can. We were hoping to, well, we are hoping to get a minimum of at least 1 million South Africans mobilized and standing up against corruption. I think corruption, as we know, has just been devastating to our country, and unfortunately, it's the poorest of the poor that are getting hit the hardest. I mean, just on my travels, I've been into a lot of townships. We've spoken to a lot of people. It's absolutely unbelievable the devastation that's happened in our country, and especially with our poor communities. They don't have food, they've got no services, which has been the problem for the longest time. But certainly, just their ability to be able to sustain themselves has been completely diminished as a result of what's going on in our current standing. And yes, sure, this COVID-19 played a role, but let's be realistic. Corruption has done South Africa no favors. We should be a lot. We are. I think it's gotten to the point now where it's sort of peaked, and South Africans are not happy about it. And what we wanted to do is get people out of the state of complacency and into a place of action. So let's rather make our voices heard. Let's stand on our feet. Let's try and do something about it, and let's try and create accountability and awareness. So I think if you're gonna position Move 1 Million as anything, it's a pressure group, and I think we've had a very good response, as you alluded to earlier. We've got 18 countries that have activated with us, and sure, a lot of them are South Africans, but a lot of them are actually internationals. I think we've sort of captured the world's imagination, and to just continue to create pressure through awareness. That's the one thing, and the other thing is it's not just about doom and gloom in South Africa. As we know, Chief Justice Mogoeng about 4 months ago now handed down that incredibly powerful ruling regarding the electoral system and about the ability for us to elect our leaders directly. And we want to ensure that South Africans from every single LSM in South Africa know that they have an opportunity to be able to change the current structures, to be able to change what's going on in South Africa now, and to be able to hold people to account, and that their vote is actually going to mean something. And it's not going to be about voting for parties anymore. It's going to be about holding people directly accountable to the public of South Africa. And then hopefully we can make sure we make good decisions and we find people that are able to serve us. I think that sort of sums it up.
Yeah, and again, I think it does. But let me take 2 steps back and maybe just unpack a few things before I go to the questions out and the flying in thick and fast. Guys, welcome to it. If you're just joining us, I am in conversation with Jarette Petzer. Of course, he's the founder and the lead organizer of Move 1 Million. You also heard that he was greatly involved, if not was the founder, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, of I Am Staying. A lot of you, I'm sure, remember that campaign. Jarette Petzer is in conversation with me. Jarette, I think, for a lot of people who might be wondering, because I think I use the words movement, organization, and I almost interchange them and I conflate them. And maybe a lot of people might be a little worried as to what exactly this is. Is there you mentioned I'm Staying is an NPC. Is Move 1 Million also an NPC? What's the structure in that? Are you the CEO of that? And again, I ask this because a lot of people want to know, is there transparency in what's happening here?
Sure. So Move 1 Million is only 6 weeks old, as we said, and we are moving towards turning it into an NPC. But that's a process. We've got we need to register for that in the upcoming week, and then we need to go for our PBO status, and that's a process. It's going to take 8 or 9 months to get the PBO status in place. Currently, what we've done is we've created a Backer Buddy account, which is a public account. People can go and put money in, and I think we've raised about 170,000 rand so far, and we've used that for travel, and we've used it for marketing material and to get shirts and all the stuff needed for campaigns out into our areas that we've activated, build reps across the country. The structures as it stands right now, I mean, we've actually considering the time we've had, we've got amazing structure. We've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are helping us to organize this thing, both locally and abroad. We've got international correspondents, and we've got guys on the ground in almost every single city and town in South Africa. And we've got regional structures that we're starting to build now to help us manage that, with a centralized administration team that sort of feeds the information down and out to our network.
Okay, I totally hear it. And look, I suppose as someone who is also working on the ground, it makes sense to me that, of course, you are, I would assume, a public benefit organization, and you would, of course, want people to donate. And I'll give you an opportunity to get into those sort of details towards the end of the show. Just to let you know that the comment section is lively, and of course, it's doing what it often does, where people start having their own little fights. I'll bring you into some of those fights so you can bring clarity to them. Guys, just a very quick mention to the guys in the comment section. I am not going to block anybody. I am a wholehearted believer in free speech. So if there are a few people who are trolling on here, guys, please don't do that. Just actually pop an honest question. I will pose it to Jarette, and he will respond. So please don't feel the need to troll or anything like that. Let's have an honest and adult conversation, please, as a plea from me to you on the show. So, guys, let me move on, Jarette, and I wanna therefore maybe get into the meat of potatoes, therefore, of what the aims of the organization is. Like, what is the end goal for an organization like Move 1 Million? If you can just set that out for me, because I think a lot of people are a little worried that you have a lot of these campaigns cropping up. And you might even argue, just to situate myself in the potential criticism, a lot of people might say, there's Big Daddy Liberty, there's Move 1 Million, and all these other organizations that just seem to be social media campaigns. Now, I go to great lengths to say that, the social media element of what I do is but 40% of what I do, but you guys might be a little different, So maybe talk to people about what exactly it is, your modus operandi, and what your aims are as Move 1 Million.
So, listen, I think you just touched on something very important there. There are a lot of these campaigns popping up, and I think that's a lot of citizens that are putting their hand up and trying to do something, So I think people are very quick to criticize, but people are very slow to actually do something about it. And I think if you look at the stuff that you're doing, if you look at the stuff that I'm doing, and a number of other guys, and Double Des is also, he's like a fantastic campaigner. We're trying to create awareness. We're trying to get people out of a place of complacency, and we're also trying to do a lot of learning while we're going through that process. So, I mean, I think you got to give us a bit of credit. I mean, if you look at what I'm Staying's done and the success around I'm Staying, we've had a fantastic run, and we've managed to affect the lives of tens of thousands of people. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people, if not that. In terms of what we do on the ground, it's very similar to you. The social media aspect is one part of it, and that's really around awareness. I think we've got a highly engaged audience that gives us a wonderful opportunity to get a lot of traffic and a lot of eyeballs to the stuff that we're doing on the ground. The meat and potatoes for me is really doing the stuff that we're doing in our townships and in communities all across South Africa. Just to put it to you, in Johannesburg, we've gone into Dobsonville, Soweto, we've been into Diepsloot, and we've been into Alexandra townships. We've engaged with community leaders in these townships. We've also engaged with a number of people that are just doing the most incredible work in terms of creating projects for their areas, and networks for their areas to ensure that there's safety and security and education and feeding schemes, and just the most remarkable stuff that's actually happening in our townships as we speak right now. But they're fraught with challenges, they're fraught with a number of challenges, and I'm getting an opportunity to get a window into these things. I'm getting an opportunity to have very real and open discussions about where we find ourselves as a country, the dynamics between black and white and colored and Indian. I mean, like we're learning a lot throughout this process, and I think that's it's critical that we open the eyes of the people in South Africa who think they know, but they don't really. I mean, I can tell you on a personal scale, from what I've seen, a lot of people have got opinion about townships. They've got an opinion about the way that some of our people in South Africa live, or the way that they behave. But until you've actually experienced or engaged in a dialogue, until you've actually been on the ground, until you've actually experienced some of the stuff firsthand, you really don't have a right to have an opinion. I think you really don't have a right to have any criticisms of anybody. And these are lessons that we're learning. These are things that we're learning. We're trying to bring awareness to the challenges that we have in South Africa, and to help to develop empathy, because we need empathy right now. We need to be focusing on what we can do to help each other, because South Africa's in a tight spot. We've got millions and millions and millions of people that are currently starving, that are destitute, that have got no opportunity, that have got no future really. And it's our responsibility to ensure that we are made aware of what's going on, and also what are we prepared to do about it. So that's our work. Our work is on the ground. We're speaking to a lot of NGOs, a lot of influencers, and not influencers like, I've got a million Instagram followers influencers. I mean, people that are actually influencing communities through their acts of kindness, through their acts of service. So we're trying to tie all of that stuff together, and to mobilize the country, and again, and to educate where we can in terms of what the direct electoral process means, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. There's a lot of people that don't know what it means. There's a lot of people that think that the way that things are from the political landscape perspective are the way that things are always going to be, and the reality is that it's not. Things are changing rapidly, and we must be speaking about these things. We must be talking about them. We must let people know that there is hope, that there is a future, that if we want change, we must be that change. We must actually help to bring that change ourselves. We can't just rely on governments to resolve the issues of South Africa. We need to have a bottom-up, top-down approach, and meet somewhere in the middle to ensure that we can turn this country around, because if we don't do it now, the chances are we're not going to get another opportunity to do that. That's pretty much what we do. And I'll continue to do that for the next 20 months. I want to campaign across the country. I want to go back and spend as much time as I can. That's cool going into like Joburg for exactly, for like 4 or 5 days. But that's really just introductory stuff to see if people are willing to engage with me, to see if they're willing to have conversations and willing to let me in. So far, we've got a 100% success rate of that happening. And now I've got to just finish up on the 5th. And then after the 5th, I've got 20 months of campaigning where I'll go into each area for a month, spend time in that area for a month, get my hands stuck in communities, and actually get involved, and use those opportunities also to feed that information back to our platform, our highly engaged platform that's got a pretty high LSM, and encourage people to get involved and to assist where they can.
And I'm just keeping an eye on the comments, guys. It's hitting the 30-minute mark. I am in conversation with Jarette Petzer, who is, of course, the founder and lead organizer of Move 1 Million. Guys, I am keeping an eye on your questions. They're coming in thick and fast here. But before
Sorry, man, I'll keep the answers shorter.
But before I maybe get to them, just 2 more things, because there's a very interesting question that did pop in here from, let's just see here. Sorry, I sort of scrolled down really quickly, but it was a good question, though, insofar as, the guy was asking you, but this kind of sounds like what BDL is doing. So what is the difference between what Move 1 Million is doing and BDL? And I'm going to offer an answer to that via a question to Jarette, and then I'll chip in at the end. So Jarette, let me just pose a question to you in that regard, because I think for me in particular, it's critically important insofar as I base what I do on the Battle of Ideas theory. So I have a outwardly stated objective and a worldview around what I believe actually builds a property-owning, free, prosperous South Africa. I have a very specific outtake to that, which therefore sees me having no place and no space for ideas that don't achieve some of the liberty-leaning ideas that I would hold, for instance. So I would argue, for instance, as a cursory difference, I would suggest, but I want you to actually chip in to see if I'm right or wrong on this. I, for instance, wouldn't talk to, for example, politicians at all, whether they're in the DA, ANC, or EFF, because I argue that the status quo of our politics is exactly why we're in the mess we're in today. And none of these individuals and none of these political parties err on the side of liberty. None of them err on the side of, for example, values around our faith, our flag, our freedom as South Africans, and of course, our adherence to family values is what I would suggest, right? So let me then pose that question directly to you around what do you guys actually stand for insofar as your worldview on things? And I know it's a bit of a tough question for you to answer, but I'm going to have to pose it to you. Like, because it also answers the question of what are you saying to, for example, people out there when you're interacting with people in communities. So how do you describe your outlook? I'm tentative to use the word ideologically, but how do you describe your outlook as a movement?
Sure. So listen, I mean, when it comes to politics and political associations, and like I said, we haven't aligned ourselves with any political party. I've got a lot of people that I talk to. I've got a lot of discussions that I have on a daily basis, and I'll be completely unapologetic for that. I think it's important for us to have an understanding of the views of different people, different organizations, and the way that they think. But I can tell you now that I believe that the route that we're going in the next 20 months is going to completely shift the political landscape. And I don't think any of the political parties that exist right now are going to be as relevant as they've been before. I think the dynamics, or at least the potential exists for the dynamics to shift in a way that's gonna make a lot of this stuff completely obsolete. And I think we need to be thrashing out those ideas, very much along the lines of trying to understand what are our options, what's the potential, what does this mean for us. It's the same thing as going into an area and saying, I don't want to talk to these people because they're ANC supporters, or I don't want to talk to them because they're EFF supporters or DA supporters. I don't want to do that. I don't ever want to do that. I want to have a conversation that allows us to transcend that. And for me, that's exactly what direct elections allows us to do. Where the party becomes irrelevant and accountability comes to the forefront of every part of our discussion. So there's a lot of thrashing of ideas. There's a lot of challenging of ideas and notions, and trying to tussle with the idea of what could be, and who knows where that's going to take us. It's early days. Like I said, it's been 6 weeks. We don't have all the answers, and in fact we have a lot more questions than answers, and the people that we speak to on a daily basis also have questions, and it's about engaging at that level and having these discussions. And I don't think it matters if you and I are doing the same thing, which I don't think we are exactly. I think there's fundamental differences in terms of what we're doing, but there are 58 million people in South Africa, and we need to reach as many of them as we can within a short space of time. So and this is not a contest. I think people should be grateful that there are a number of people that are out there that are trying to go this route and be a little bit less judgmental and maybe get a little bit more stuck in, and start asking themselves what it is that they're actually doing to make any changes in South Africa, and what they're doing to try and try and engage with South Africans, and I think that's we've become a very cynical bunch, South Africans. We really have become very cynical, and it's quite sad to see. We've got a lot of work to do.
Look, I'd agree with the latter bit, around the idea that it really is important for people to get up and do. I mean, that's just it, right? Get up and do. And not, as I often say on the show, just don't stay in your little hookies shouting at each other from different corners. Exactly. But I do think there's a valid criticism that I'm also seeing it in the questions here around the danger, therefore. If you don't have a core value system, a core worldview, maybe with a clarity of thought, if you will. And I'm seeing it in some of the questions, and I want to pose to you directly, that there could very well be a concerted effort by very wily and savvy people, often within various hookies of their own, right? Whether they are in political parties or some of these sort of vested interest groupings that we have in this country. There is a real danger for your organization to be hijacked, which is what I'm seeing in some of the comment section. How do you stave off something like that?
Well, I don't know how that would happen. We're not going to allow anybody to hijack our movement. Our movement is for the people. We're not going to put ourselves into a pigeonhole for the sake of trying to score political points or brownie points or anything like that. I think we are free thinkers. We are focused on the people, and we do have core ideologies. We're tired of corruption. We're tired of crime. We're tired of the status quo that's become our lives in South Africa. I mean, we are very much embedded in grassroots development, and I think that's something that we've stated on a number of occasions. We say it in all of our communications. What can we do to help? Where can we build? What opportunities do we have? And certainly we're not going to allow ourselves to be taken in by any sort of political ideologies that are going to suit the few. I'll never apologize for having discussions with any South Africans. Like I said to you before, if people want to have a discussion with us, if we feel like there's value to be had in having a discussion, then we'll have those discussions. I think we have the right to be able to speak to everyone. We live in a free we're allowed to engage with a number of different people. But I have zero interest in any political route. I mean, we're an apolitical movement. I'm staying as an apolitical movement. People have been accusing us of being ANC empathizers and sympathizers in hashtag I'm staying. They've accused us of being part of the DA with I'm staying. You know, people are always going to have ideas and opinions about what we are, but we know what we are. I mean, and everyone's entitled to have their opinion. We're certainly not going down any political route, I can tell you now.
Okay. All right, guys, you're hearing it from the man himself. Jarette Petzer is in conversation on Late Nights with BDL. Again, guys, keep the questions coming. I did say that I would pose the questions to Jarette because, again, it's about Jarette having an opportunity to engage you directly, especially for those of you who have been on my comment section saying all sorts of things. You know, here the man's here, and I did tell you, Jarette is a straight shooter. He will not shy away, I'm hoping, from the questions. And speaking about the questions, I'm going to pose questions to you here, Jarette. I've acknowledged quite a few people here. I just need to quickly just scroll up in the question section. Guys, for those of you who are sending in the super chats, ngiyabonga kakhulu. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to shout you out just very quickly here whilst I give Jarette an opportunity to catch his breath. Enigma 3, thank you, homie, for the 35 rand. I see you, my brother. Lance, thank you. And thank you also for the comment, Lance. I appreciate the 70 bucks, homie. I'm just going to scroll down quickly here. I did see one from Deborah, I think. Deborah, it's Deborah Olivier, who also has a question. BDL, please ask your guest why I may not have a hashtag Futsak ANC poster. I was told no party bashing.
Yeah, and that speaks to the heart of our members, because again, we've got members in the DA, members of the EFF, members of the ANC, members of the Freedom Front Plus. We're not going to allow anyone to bash one particular party for fear of alienating our membership, because we are apolitical. So everybody already knows that the issues lie with our ruling party. You know, we don't have to go and broadcast it, because no matter how we try and get away from the fact, there are a number of people that are going to, they're not sure about where they want to go. They know they're not happy with the current circumstances, but they also have some sense of loyalty. So why must we alienate them? Guys can go and say whatever they want to say on a number of different platforms. We encourage them. They can even go and start their own platform. If they feel so strongly about their convictions, we encourage them to go and start their own platform and see what sort of support they get. If they get good support, they'll know that the country supports what they're doing. If they don't get good support, well, then, you know, it pretty much says everything. So we are not going to allow anybody to bash any party. We wouldn't allow them to bash EFF either. I mean, like, it's just not what we do. You know, focus on the task at hand is my view on that one.
There's a question here from Douglas Davis. I did also see this in my Facebook comments, including very long posts about it. So let me just pose it to you directly. I'm not sure what he's saying, not true to, but obviously it would have been something you had said earlier on. But he then says, you have aligned with the group, the KNP, I don't know what that's short for, which is, as he puts it, a right-wing political party. What's that about, Jarette?
No, man. So Skalk van der Merwe, I don't even know what the MKP is. I've never taken a look at the party. I don't understand their party politics. I don't understand who's involved in their party, except for Skalk van der Merwe. Now, Skalk van der Merwe happens to be a constitutional law expert, and we did ask him to help us with putting together our manifesto. So people have gone and taken 2 + 2, and they've ended up with some funny number, because there was a section within the Constitution, section 235, that people are challenging, and I think everyone has taken the fact that this guy happens to be part of this political party and assume that there's now an association between the two of us, because he's helped us to put together a manifesto, which is a live document, which is open for public opinion, we're using that public opinion to shape the document. So there's nothing there. There's nothing to hide there at all. I mean, yes, I know Skalk van der Merwe. I think he's a fantastic guy. His party politics has got nothing to do with us. We're not interested in his party politics. We don't know anything about his party politics. But we know him on a personal level, and he's assisted us in getting a manifesto drafted. You know,
there you have it, guys.
Easy.
There's Jarette's response to that one. Let me move on. I see, maybe to your point, there's Jane Schofield here. Hi, Jane, all the way from Hillcrest. Oh, wow, that's an old haunt of mine. I did go to Hillcrest High School. Jane is saying, I have staff who are ANC supporters that will be standing on the 5th here in Hillcrest. So maybe that goes to your point, Jared, around, various political parties. There is, let me see if I can get to another question here. Lots of comments, guys. I am seeing the comments. I just can't read every single one. Mohammed Hunter. Does Jarette have a backup plan in case politicians try and eliminate him? Oh, it's a bit dark, but okay. But I get the question. It's genuine. Does Jarette have a backup plan in case politicians try to eliminate him from society? As we've seen recently, that many people that have been a threat to the ANC have been executed. Look, it's a bit of a dark question, but he's not wrong, right? That's the kind of country we live in.
Yeah, so he's got a point. He's got a point. I mean, listen, there's only so much we can do. I'm hoping that we are public enough that won't happen. But BDL. I mean, this is the reality of what we do on a daily basis.
Right.
And we've got to put ourselves forward. We cannot live our lives in fear. And I can tell you something else, and this is just for everyone out there. No one gets out alive. That's just the reality of it. So I'd rather do what I'm passionate about, follow my heart, follow my dreams, and hope for the best. And try to prepare for the worst. But again, if something was to happen to me, there's not a lot I can do about that. I'm hoping that my live stream feed will keep me alive a little bit longer.
Hey man, let's again. I as I always say, guys, maybe from my side, this is why I talk a lot about faith from my perspective. I'm grounded in my faith. I'm very comfortable in my job here on this earth. And if my time is up, my time is up. But, faith, flag, family, and freedom, guys. I see a comment from Mike Bishton. I'll be the first, he says, to admit cynicism, having been caught too many times, hence me not being easily moved by M1M. Well, Mike, I hope by the end of this, maybe your view might change. You're welcome to get through a question, brother, and I'll pose it to Jarette. Let's see here. Another question. Is there another agenda behind, this is from Armeladal. Is there another agenda behind driving Move 1 million, if you get my drift? Armeladal, I don't get your drift, brother. Maybe repose the question. Be specific, and I'll definitely pose it to Jarette. But I think he's been quite clear to a very large extent around what why he's doing this, and maybe there are other questions that you guys might be posing. I see some comments here generally, maybe a dissatisfaction around the issue of clarity of message and maybe staying on message, given the various interest groups that are involved in this, or that he is involving. I get that, guys, and I think I'll pose that as a final question, but I do think Jarette has been quite open on that regard. Let me get to questions here. Sorry, Jarette, a lot of these are also just people talking amongst themselves, so I'm just have to sift through to a question that comes directly to you, excuse me. Okay, Douglas is saying, come on, Jarette, you have already been captured by the likes of... No, dude, guys, look, guys, he's already said he knows the man, but he's not involved because Douglas, and I'm going to read your question, Douglas, just to be fair. Come on, Jarette, you have already been captured by the likes of KNP. They also wrote your manifesto. I will let Jarette touch on that again, but I don't think there's a need to. Let me try and find another question. Important question here from Adele Bird. How do we find out the arrangements for each area for the 5th of September? Where to meet, for example, the times and the routes that we'll be taking?
That's a great question. So if you go into the announcements section on the group, there's a post under announcements that sort of gives you all the field rep locations. If you click on one of those, it will take you to that field rep group that's in your area, and you can connect with the field rep in your area. There will be communications that are coming out just before the 5th of September, which we'll share across all of our platforms. As you know, we've linked up with a number of different groups and associations on social media, so it's sort of expanded our reach to about 3.6 million members, and then we'll be sharing exactly the details of how it's all gonna play out. But I can tell you, I encourage everybody to sort of do awareness campaigns in your area. Once you know what's happening in your area, do awareness campaigns in your area. And remember, this is going to be a peaceful protest. We don't want any drama, no drama at all, because that falls right into the hands of what's going on at the moment. And we also encourage everybody to do random acts of kindness on the day. Once you finish protesting, go and feed someone, go and help somebody, go and do something awesome for somebody else. That's our message.
Absolutely. I'm going to keep it going here. Mohammed with a nice message from him saying, Allah keep you safe. Thanks, my brother. I agree with BDL. I'm a big believer in our lifespan being predetermined by God. If our time is up, it's up. Thanks for that comment. And I think both of us appreciate that sentiment.
Thank you.
There we go. I was hoping to see this. Oh, no, it's just literally scrolled down. There it is. Mike Bishton has come back and said, my view has certainly changed thanks to this cast and hearing directly from Jarette. Well, there you go. Thanks, Mike, for that nice feedback.
Nice one, Mike.
Let me see if there's any more questions here. Sorry, guys, you're going to have to forgive me. The text is really small and it flies up the screen. So I'm just pausing it and getting into questions. Kathy Newell, I think it's more a comment. Jarette, please collaborate with people on YouTube. You'll get a lot of support. I'm just sort of adding some words there. That's just a nice suggestion from Kathy. Let's see. Oh, Tanya is also basically echoing that in a way by saying, can he please share more videos on YouTube? So I think that's just people asking you to be more on YouTube, Jarette.
You're gonna have to teach me what to do there, buddy. I'm like I'm an old dog with one trick.
Hey man, I was about to say I'm not that tech savvy either, but we'll definitely connect. And maybe let me touch on that, because there were some questions around, why don't you guys get together and do something and blah blah blah. And maybe from my side, let me say I have spoken to Jarette, and I think he's also quite correct in saying that we move quite differently in how we do things, but there is an idea that I've put to Jarette, which I think, once our yikes, I nearly gave myself a sense of self-importance once our diaries align. But once
I'll get my PA to call your PA.
But I think once we have an opportunity to actually be in the same place at the same time, I've actually put an idea to Jarette around taking the initiative into a community and doing a live town hall. In various communities, either here in Cape Town, where I am for the moment, but also in other parts of the country, so that we can also bring you what happens on the ground, so to speak, onto the show through the prism, of course, of Move 1 Million. There might be another organization also that might want to be involved and have a say, and brought to you, of course, here on the BDL show. So it'll be a nice opportunity for people to actually talk to each other and see what their issues are. Because I've said this before, just because you see a poorer community, for instance, rising up and burning tires, burning libraries, sometimes their own infrastructure, doesn't mean that they do that out of a sense of wanting to self-damage themselves. They are just as frustrated with the state, and I'll bring you in just now, Jarette. They're just as frustrated with the state as you are, but just they don't have the means, in their view at least, of being able to express that. So it will be a nice way to bridge those gaps in having these town halls. Jarette, your take and your say?
Sorry, that's very important. That's something that I've just educated myself around now. We've got to remember that South Africans in the poorer communities have been neglected for these 30 years. Before that, they came from an apartheid regime where it was even worse, and nobody's listening to these guys. No one is listening to them. They don't have an outlet. So it's like imagine you've been screaming at the top of your lungs for somebody to help you for the last 60 years or 70 years or 100 years even, and nobody is listening. And eventually you get frustrated. And I think sometimes, whether it's right or wrong is irrelevant. It's just we need to understand the levels of frustration and pain and anger that resides within our communities. We need to understand this stuff. It's very easy for us to pass judgment through our screens or in our nice, cushy, comfy lives, and let's admit it, privilege is a real thing. And we should never be ashamed of our privilege, but we must understand that not everybody in our country, in fact, the majority of our country don't live like that. And they are incredibly frustrated,
Absolutely. I'm seeing some funny comments here. Sorry, Jarette, I wasn't giggling at you. I'm sorry, guys. I have this terrible thing. I like laughing, and I'll giggle when I see something funny. You guys are just absolutely cracking me up in some of these comments. But no, Jarette, I agree with you, and you're right, my brother. As we head into the last 9 minutes, really the last sort of 6 minutes with Jarette, let me just try and get into some of more of these comments. There's a lot of conspiracy here today, guys. What's going on? Selvin Levy, I think this is a comment to someone else because you started by saying Kim. Facebook is part of the Illuminati. Okay, this is really a comment to Kim, so I'll throw something else here. Alice Pinto. Hey, Alice, welcome to the show. That's a great idea, BDL and Jarette. And I would focus in the townships. Poor communities don't have the luxury of watching these YouTube chats and even Facebook. I agree with you. That's why I often talk a lot about the groundwork and its importance more than the air war, excuse me. Okay, Jarette, as we head into our last sort of 4 minutes or so, I actually want to give you an opportunity really to give a sense of not only where you are, where you'll be going, some of the stuff that's coming up for you guys, and of course how we can support you. So let me just maybe look for just 2, maybe 3 more questions, if I can find any, and then I'll just give you an opportunity to have the final say. Quentin Lawrence, where do you see South Africans or South Africa in 5 years from now if everything works out the way you planned, Jarette?
If everything can work out in 5 years from now, we'll be in the building phases. You know, we'll be quite far advanced in terms of creating a lot more opportunity and sustainability in South Africa. I think that's where I see it, and I think certainly from a socio-dynamics perspective, we'll be in a much better place because at the moment we know very little about each other's cultures. We know very little about each other, and we have a lot of work to do in that space. So I see the next 5 years, should things go the way I want them to go, of us being in a place of building and a real place of unifying, and we don't have that at the moment. A lot of it's like superficial unification. You know, we need to get much deeper into things and to build from there. So. If we 5 years from now, if we can get this right, we'll be in a much better place. I can tell you that.
And maybe the final 2 questions. Sean Ashbury, I see you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Sean is asking, what are your demands and from who?
So, I mean, this, you know, the demands we have are for accountability, and that's certainly it's our senior politicians that need to be brought to account. But for us, it's a lot more about awareness. It's a lot more about creating a pressure campaign through awareness, through the international, through our international network and through our local network as well, to ensure that we can be part of the processes. You know, we want to see what's going on with this the direct electoral process, because it's 20 months of process. It's the IEC and Parliament have got a lot of work to do in order to get this thing right, and we need to make sure that the process that we follow is going to be one that doesn't dilute this court finding, and that guys that are currently sitting in authority aren't going to slip through the cracks and aren't going to be able to use this to their own benefit. So that's really our main focus, and we want accountability, man. We want accountability, and we want our liberty. We want our freedom. We definitely want our freedom.
And maybe the final question then, which ties in quite nicely, will be from Annelie Viljoen Steel. Welcome to the show, Annelie. Annelie Fra, how can we help if we want to? How can the folks help you, Jarette?
You can help me by helping someone else. You know, I think we cannot underestimate the power of these random acts of kindness. Because if you really want to reach inside of somebody, if you want to start building trust, if you want to start building community, then go and help someone. Go and do something kind for somebody. Not something that you're going to go splash all over social media, not something that you're going to tell your friends about. Just go and do something. Reach out and do something to help another person and build trust and build a relationship, because it's all about building relationships now. That's what we need to do. So if you want to help me, go help someone else.
Maybe on that note, to give you the final word, Jarette, so what's coming up? What do people need to know? I'm seeing a lot of references to the 5th here in the comments. Maybe you want to quickly talk about that.
Yeah.
What is MOM coming up with that people can keep an eye on? And of course, how do the folks support you, logistically, financially, and the like?
Stunning. So if you guys want to assist us with our Backer Buddy Fund, again, you can go into the announcement section. There's a Backer Buddy Fund there, and whatever you can afford to put in is helping me to continue with my travels. You know, like I said, we've got 20 months of campaigning, and we've been very blessed. A lot of people have helped us with accommodation and food and everything, but obviously we've got flights to pay for and fuel and a couple of bits and pieces. But it's not major expenses. So if you want to help in that way, you can jump onto the Backer Buddy account. In terms of creating awareness, just help us share the page, help us share the stories, and help us share our messaging. You know, and we need to talk about unity, and we need to talk about accountability. So help us get those messages out. In terms of what's up next, we've got my next trip is tomorrow. I'll leave for KZN. I'm going to be going basically all over KZN, into townships, spending time with NGOs, spending time in other communities, going to see some of our field reps that are supporting us. So I'll be live streaming to you and showing you what we're up to there. And then the 5th of September, guys, the 5th of September, it's going to be national. Get involved. If you're disabled, or if you've got a comorbidity and you don't want to leave your house, just hang your flag outside your home. You know, if you're going to stand with a few groups of friends on the side of the road and wave your banner, do that. If you want to join us in the cities in your cars, then come and do that. We'll give you the details in terms of exactly how the logistics are going to work on the day in the CBDs. But certainly, you know, just stand on your feet. Just show solidarity to your country. You know, don't take it lying down anymore. We've done enough of that now.
Absolutely. And maybe on that glorious note, Jarette, let me thank you for having joined me here, you know, for that nice, lazy Sunday evening chat on Late Nights with BDL. Brother, super appreciate that. You said you're heading to KZN tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow, man.
All right. And in just very quickly, in Joburg, what's going to be happening there?
In Joburg, we're trying to get everyone to the union buildings on Saturday. We're getting all the bikers, all the cars. I mean, if there's any farmers, get your tractors. You know, like anybody, if anybody can get to the union buildings, make sure that you do not take your kids to the CBD. And then just take a look out for anything else that's going on in the area.
Jarette, sorry, I was just saying the line broke for a moment. We heard just make sure, and then you broke.
Oh, yeah. I said just make sure that please make sure that you adhere to the Disaster Management Act rules. We don't want anybody getting into trouble. We don't want any violence. We don't want any cause for concern. We want to make sure that we are nice and peaceful and friendly. You know, you can hang out the side of your car if you want to. You can fly your flags out the side of your car. You can play Jerusalem as loud as you want to. We encourage all the bikers, all the farmers, or anybody that can get to the union buildings. Get to the union buildings. Come in your numbers, and please. Don't bring your children. Don't bring your children to any of the government buildings, okay? That's all we ask. Make sure that your kids are not with you at the government buildings. And please make sure that you adhere to the rules, and let's do this in the right spirit. The spirit of love, the spirit of peace, and the spirit of progression. You know, we want things to change. So, and then we'll give you more details about the rest soon.
Absolutely. Guys, that's Jarette Petzer, the founder and really lead organizer of the Move 1 Million initiative. Let me say a quick thank you to him. And brother, Godspeed to you. And we'll connect in a short course.
Thanks for the airtime, brother. Take it easy, man. Good chatting, eh?
Hey, ta-ra. Thanks, man.
Ciao.
Yeah, man. So that was Jarette Petzer. And you guys heard it, man. And I gave everybody a fair opportunity to be able to pose the tough questions, right? But at the same time, a fair shake to the guy to share what he is doing. And I think he's 100% correct in saying, guys, get up and do something. Of course, there will be a lot of criticism from all sorts of corners. I mean, I cop a lot of flack for what I do, and that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, you've got to get up and actually do something. Because again, you know, if this country sinks, it sinks for every single one of us. Like there will be no special pleading for some and not others. So, shout out to Jarette, and I really do wish him Godspeed in his work, because as I've always said before, there's definitely a place for, as the line drops there, but there's definitely a place for activism, and activism insofar as just raising awareness. There's a time and a place for everything. So I absolutely think that that's what the Move 1 Million movement is, and it has its place. But I reiterate what I think my role should be, which is to win people on the actual ideas of what builds a free, prosperous, non-racial, and property-owning society. It is liberty-leaning ideas. It is a free society, that is founded on the shared values as South Africans of faith, flag, family, and freedom. So that's my mission in terms of why I go into communities across the country. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with organizations and movements like Jarette who are just raising awareness and trying to rally people. So guys, thank you to every single one of you who joined us on the live stream. The comments are fantastically lively. I see there was a lot of trolling on the comments today. But again, as I said, guys, I don't block anybody. I don't I literally always hit the show button when YouTube itself tries to hide your comments, because I genuinely believe in free speech, and I do see the calls for moderators. I'm going to click some of these, especially the people who are on a lot when I'm live streaming. I'm like assign. Excuse me. Why am I waffling away here? I'm going to assign a moderator role for you guys. I know Kerry was a moderator, but remember, guys, if I do choose you to be a moderator, it is literally to just unblock hidden comments. It is not to ban anybody or stifle even harsh criticism of me or any of my guests. That's not how I work on the show. I genuinely believe in free speech in that regard. So, guys, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who watched the show. Remember, I come to you 3 times a week, effectively, on a Wednesday for the Big Daddy Liberty Show. That is the flagship show. The BDL show won't be as live anymore as it has been in the past, as I'm now back out and about shooting episodes in communities around the country. I now am able to hire a camera and production guy who can really join me and up the quality of my work. So you're going to see a lot more episodes of me out and about doing the groundwork and just talking to South Africans on the ground. That'll be the BDL show. It should average around 30 minutes now on average. And every Friday, of course, you'll find me for the podcast version of the BDL show. It's syndicated on Chai FM, and I'll soon be on West Coast Radio, Viscous Radio. And of course, as I've told you before, part of my strategy is to get that podcast onto even more community radio stations. So please continue supporting me so I can actually get onto that as we get the podcast onto more radio stations across the country. And of course, it's available for podcast on Friday. And of course, the show, Late Nights with BDL, which will be our opportunity to have a live chat and a live stream to cap off your weekend of liberty here on the show. So guys, thank you so much for everybody who watched the show, of course. And a quick reminder, I will see you this Wednesday for the show, a very interesting show for you guys, as I take to the streets of Cape Town. You guys saw in the last vlog I did, where I asked serious questions about the level of service delivery here in Cape Town. And a lot of people got very upset with me and suggested that I may have been fibbing on that one. So I'm going to take to the streets of Cape Town and ask you, dear Cape Townian, around what you think the levels of service delivery have been here in Cape Town. Are they still as good as you maybe remember them? So we'll have that chat, and I'll put some solutions to you around what we can do, not only here in Cape Town, but across the country, to get service delivery at a local government level up to a standard which reflects our wants as a people. So with that being said, a hearty thank you to you guys once again. And remember, as I always say, never trust a commie.